And every time you unturn, overturn, or look under a stone, there's so much more you have to investigate, because it's wild the number of family members involved, and it's even the amount of money that we're talking about in these suspicious activity reports is astronomical. And the accusations therein, the source of the funding, where the money's going, the shell companies, prostitution rings, etc. It's insanity to me that it's not been investigated in the way that it should be.
So this, let's say, interesting clip of Nancy Mace accusing Joe Biden and the Biden family being involved in prostitution rings is a good example of how politicians, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, say what they need to say to get in office. And then once they get in there, they spew different messages, different types of rhetoric, different types of narratives to help amp up the base, or to get people just happy enough to keep the money flowing and to keep enough votes going in to get them reelected. Now, it's definitely clear that when, you're a politician at the federal level or any high level of government for decades upon decades, there's likely going to be something there to see in terms of maybe some corruption. But prostitution rings, you're going to have to need a lot of evidence for that. Extraordinary claims absolutely require extraordinary evidence. And here's a great example of Nancy Mace saying something rather reasonable when George Santos got elected, how a lot of the constituency was unhappy and many people in the party, including Kevin McCarthy, kind of, but then he backed off from it, called him out and said that he should resign.
I love these New York Republicans. What's not to love about them? They're calling it out. They call it like they see it. They're calling out their own colleague, George Santos, in this particular situation. It is a problem for us in Congress because the American people, they don't trust anybody. They think all politicians lie, and there are good guys among us who are trying to do the right thing. He should resign, but obviously he won't. You saw in the clip earlier, he's smiling and almost giggling when the press gaggle is following him around. He's enjoying, loving, I would argue, the attention that he's getting right now.
So again, Nancy Mace is definitely somebody who is more than capable of thinking clearly, thinking rationally, and going about things in a way that makes sense. So to go from this to prostitution rings, again, that's just a good example of how politicians say whatever they need to get the base happy.
But yet, every time there's a mass shooting, and they're increasing every year, every week, we don't say anything, we want to bury our heads in the sand and hope that it goes away. But guess what? It's not going away. And I see it. I'm in a very purple district, even though I'm in South Carolina. It is an issue that continues to be a problem for Republicans. And we've not learned anything from the midterm elections if we're going to sit here on our hands silently, not offering any type of solution to reduce gun violence in our country. And it's not about gun control.
Another beautiful example of Nancy Mace knowing exactly what she's doing, knowing exactly what the issue is and the solution, but also keeping the base happy at the same time. Pointing out the obvious fact that the United States has a searing gun violence problem and that people are getting way too comfortable just committing these horrible acts because nothing really is being done about it. She points out correctly that something actually needs to happen. Real measures need to take place. Our government needs to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, but not gun control, though. Nothing with the guns. Let's not do anything with the guns. Anything but that. She knows what she's doing.
Obviously, it is an incredibly important job of Congress to provide oversight over the executive branch. But I wonder if some of these individuals, you once posted a bat, a poop, and clown emoji in reference to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I did.
I'm wondering if that's going to make your job tougher of important oversight.
Well, I think the same thing could be said for the left. We saw in the 117th Congress that members of the squad who've gotten in trouble for perhaps anti-Semitic remarks like Ilhan Omar, those members were on the Oversight Committee.
And then finally comparing Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar's white supremacist sympathies to Ilhan Omar's stances against Israel occupation of Palestine and things along those lines, making sure that the base is happy. Acknowledging one thing, but also making it a both sides issue so that no one's actually getting the finger pointed at them. And this actually is a lot of why Donald Trump continues to reign supreme over the party, because Republicans are absolutely incapable of, one, taking responsibility, ironically or unironically, and also actually attacking themselves, actually fighting against themselves in a way that's any type of effective. But we just had a very good look into how politicians know exactly what they're doing with their rhetoric.